Hello and welcome. This is Lisa Lish. Thank you for being here today. I am going to share my screen. Give me just a second. We're going to dive right in to this presentation on breaking the burnout cycle. So let me go into, I'm going into speaker mode here, so I can't see comments or anything, but I will be watching for the comments, and I'll be checking back in about 30 minutes to see your comments. As comments come up, please go ahead and put them in the chat box. I think on your screen it might say comments, and you can just click on that and put a comment in, and I'll be looking at that as we move forward. And there was one thing I do want to put a couple of things in. I'm going to put 3 links in our chat box today, and I'm going to do that right now. One is, let me see. Oh, there it goes. So I put some links in the chat box. The first one is, and if you go over to the chat box, you can see, but this one is some worksheets for today so that you get your plan together on breaking the burnout cycle. And this one here that says programs, that is the Are You Burned Out quiz. And it will tell you if you're burned out, and if so, how much. And then it will give you some specific tips, for addressing your burnout. So I encourage you to take that quiz. And then if you, this is actually a little bit of if you click on this Book Me link, and it's just the one that goes, this shouldn't be right here, this HTTPS. In fact, I'm going to get rid of this and do this one more time. And there we go. So the links look like it's actually, there's a break right here. There should be a line right there, or a new line. So you can take the quiz, you can get the worksheet, and that'll get you started on your developing your 3-step plan for breaking the burnout cycle. So there are 3 links there. They should open up in new tabs on your screen. So go ahead and click them. You can also find them if you go to the comments section and look at the chat comments there. So thank you for that. And let's go ahead and get started, because I know you are ready to break the cycle of burnout today. So I'm going to share my screen again. And again, as I am presenting, I can't see your comments, but I will check back in just a moment. So let's see. We are talking today about how to break the burnout cycle. I'm really glad you're here. I've been reading in the news for the last year, really, that millions and millions of employees are feeling burned out. There was a recent article, and I'll be sharing the source with you later, but just within the last few weeks, there was a study done, I think it was Deloitte, that said that over 77 million employees said that they are experiencing burnout. So that could be you. It could be someone who is on your team, someone who you really want to be engaged and feel productive and positive about where they work. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We know when we are suffering with burnout because of signs and symptoms. And some of our symptoms are just feeling mentally numb, feeling physically exhausted, and really just feeling empty inside, just feeling an empty numbness. And that can translate over time into low productivity, cynicism. So first of all, that low productivity, just not having the same level of productivity that you were used to having in the past. And that might have been last year, a year and a half ago, pre-pandemic. A lot of people are reporting that their motivation is just gone. If you're just joining, I can't see the comments right now, but I will be checking them in a moment. And that can grow into cynicism, which is just a chronic feeling of negativism and a negative attitude, and where we just see a lot of challenges in our path, a lot of barriers, and not really kind of the easy flow of life that maybe we once had or we would like to have. And maybe you've seen physical changes. I have, since the pandemic, I'm just not getting it out as much. And, a lot of people are reporting a quarantine 15 or more, where people are, their bodies are changing. They're not exercising as much. Maybe they're not eating as healthfully. We're looking for comfort foods, for carbohydrates. I understand that completely. And, but these feelings all together going on for a long period of time, a couple of months or more, where you just can't seem to shake out of it. These are all signs of burnout. And as I mentioned, I've been there. I've experienced burnout myself. I have, and so I understand that weariness, that fatigue, that drained feeling. That maybe sometimes with burnout we're experiencing a kind of monkey brain, where there's just constant noise going on in our brains, but we really can't hear our hearts speak to us, or our souls. So it's just, the constant to-do list in our brains, and we're just worn out mentally, physically, intellectually, spiritually. We're not getting fed from our social networks like we once did. And like I said, I understand completely. There was a time in my life, and even, some recently, where with the effects of the pandemic on everyone and people being a little bit more isolated, that, people are focusing on just getting things done, blending in, continuing to be part of the group, and, just going to that next step, whatever that next step is, kind of mindlessly without thinking. And that is exhausting. It's draining. And this is a time where a lot of people, excuse me, are reporting that we are missing some of what in life has been fruitful or positive for us before. And so I'd like for you to just reflect on that for just a minute, and think about what it is that you might be missing, or longing for in your life, because we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about, there are ways to make a shift out of this burnout state. And sometimes it takes a shift in behaviors, a shift in mindset, a shift in, our daily activities, our scheduling. Sometimes it takes a shift in setting some boundaries. But there are ways to shift into a more peaceful, joyful, rewarding, meaningful life and experience than maybe we've ever had before, and certainly more than what we've had recently, if we've been experiencing burnout. And I know that I've done a lot of work around this myself, and in coaching over 1,000 professionals in my career, I've seen people make small changes that create big shifts in what their life experience is at the time. So if you're ready, I'd love to know that you're ready. Give me a thumbs up or a yes, I'm ready in the chat box. And if you're ready to reflect on how to make some small changes to break that burnout cycle. First, I'd like to ask, one of the questions I have is, some of us are experiencing burnout and some of those signs and symptoms that I talked about earlier. And, but I'm curious how broad the pattern is. And so, because I've been talking with so many people who are experiencing those signs and symptoms, including my one-on-one coaching clients, and then just friends, family, colleagues that I know. And I was wondering, how broad is this pattern? And well, this research shows, if we look at, a number of different articles, that so many people are feeling burnout, and in fact, to the point where they are quitting their jobs or quitting things, and to get some relief, and feeling like that relief in time and obligations will feed their energy level. And so there are a number of studies here that I've put on this sheet. I didn't have time to add this one. I'd like to add one more. I'll put it in the chat box for us. The one that I mentioned about the 77 million people feeling burned out and thinking about leaving their jobs. I just put it in the um, chat, but also this is the link to it. And this is the article that specifically said that professionals, when they surveyed professionals out of their group, they found that over 77 million people reporting that they do, in fact, so that's in the chat. It do, in fact, um, feel that sense of burnout in their current jobs. So it's a huge problem, and it's probably something that you either are experiencing personally or have experienced personally over the last 18 months. But know that people around you are experiencing it also, and you're not alone. And this is something that I think when we talk about it and open up the conversation, we can talk about solutions and we can support each other through the process. So based on the articles that I've been reading and the people I've been talking with and coaching, I've identified 3 steps in a burnout, what I'm calling a burnout cycle. And we're going to talk about how to break this cycle. But I really see it starting with this excessive outward focus, where we're focusing on getting things done. We're focusing on accomplishing things on our to-do list. We're focused on getting the next task completed. But there are some other elements to that outward focus, and I'm going to go deeper into that in just a minute. But that results in overwhelm, a sense of overwhelm that can be paralyzing in our brains and even on the energy within our bodies. And then we just feel that exhaustion, that fatigue, because our adrenals are worn out, our adrenal system, our minds are worn out, and we're just in this vicious spiral. And that's where the fatigue, the exhaustion, and those general feelings of burnout come in. So let's talk about the outward focus. When we get into comparisonville, when we get comparison with others and comparison with maybe some very ambitious standards that we've set for ourselves, and I believe in ambitious standards. However, in the last 18 months, there have been so many things outside of our control. So, that excessive outward focus on things that we can't control can be demoralizing for us and lead us to that overwhelm. We might be looking at other people or just against our own goals and expectations of ourselves, which with huge changes in our culture and in our organizations may need to be adjusted a little bit. But we're looking at clothes, looks, cars. If you're on Instagram, you see everyone having the perfect life, and we might be comparing ourselves to all of these external, that's a typo, I apologize, external models. Think about who you're following, who you follow, individually, as who do you look to as a mentor or leader, as a role model. Who do you look to? And I encourage you to think about, if you're excessively looking outward for standards of what your goals should be and what your expectations of yourself should be. And then also, when we're excessively outward focused, we avoid our alone time, and we avoid our own thoughts and our thought processes, and this is a key here, what our intuition is telling us. We start to avoid and ignore our own inner guidance systems. And that leads us to that sense of overwhelm, the monkey mind, where our brain is just constantly revisiting the same issues, maybe the same challenges or problems over and over again. that leads to feelings of anxiousness. Sometimes we get to-do list mania. I was talking with a friend the other day, and she was saying, I just am so, I am so attached to my to-do list, and I set my own sense of self-worth each day and the value of the day and of me that day against what I got accomplished on my to-do list. So this is part of how we get into overwhelm. We just get really focused on that to-do list. And I'm going to talk specifically about a step to address that item when we talk about breaking this cycle. And then just overproducing, really not producing more around um, quantity instead of quality, and not looking for meaning in what we're producing as much as looking for volume in our production, and which all leads to competitiveness because we're comparing with external models instead of really resonating with what feels good for ourselves. And that those are some of the components that I've been hearing about and people have been talking with me about regarding overwhelm. And then finally, we just get exhausted. And I've been in that state before where I just can't think anymore. I'm just exhausted. And there has been so much information lately in the news and information for us to review as part of our jobs and on social media and all of that, that it can be overwhelming and lead to that mental and intellectual fatigue. And then our bodies will feel tired also. We'll feel like we can't think anymore. And it's almost impossible to be creative or innovative. And a sign that we're really in a burnout mode is chronically losing patience and chronically being negative. And when I say being negative, just not seeing possibilities and not seeing the value in moving forward or taking a step or taking a chance, taking a risk, and just saying, having a chronically negative or pessimistic view or cynical view of being able to move forward and achieve goals and take action. And so this is the breakout cycle. It's 3 steps, and we're going to talk about 3 steps for breaking the cycle, some things that you can do right away. Well, remember, I dropped in the chat box a link, and that link starts out with programs.lisalish. The first step is I want you to take the quiz that's at the other end of that link. This quiz is going to help you gain clarity on specifically where your burnout is and how severe it is. And as you go through the questions, you can be thinking about your own level of productivity, your own level of mental or physical fatigue, and some of the elements that are contributing to your feelings of burnout. So take the quiz, you get a full report about, insights to your burnout and what steps you can take next to help alleviate your feelings of burnout. So it's easy. It only takes honestly about 2 minutes to take the quiz. If you're watching this on record, go ahead and just pause the recording now and go ahead and go to that quiz, take the quiz, and take the time to go and look at your results. Thank you. Step number 2 is this step is really easy. You can start today. This is going to help you start on a journey that will breathe energy into your life. You don't need to take a class and you don't need to get a clarification. Remember, you saw in that cycle how outward focus is one of the habits we get into that starts and exacerbates our sense and our level of burnout. So to combat that, we're going to start focusing inward. This is really simple. What I like to do is take a break once an hour. It only takes about 15 seconds to say, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Am I feeling anxious, tired, angry? Am I feeling happy, successful, proud of myself? How am I feeling? Check in with those feelings once an hour. Your feelings are a guidance system. Set an alarm on your watch or on your smartphone and just remind yourself to take a breath and ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? That's a very easy way to go inward. Other ways are meditation, prayer, journaling. There are lots of ways for you to take time, maybe in nature, maybe in a quiet space in your home, to just go inward, reflect, feel your feelings, and pay attention to your inner voice. And then step number 3. So took our quiz. We're taking time to go inward. And the quiz is all about starting the journey. Now we're going inward. And now in step 3, what you're going to do is I invite you to ask yourself one question before taking any action. That only takes a second. It's a mental exercise. Again, you're going within. This is an easy way to go within. So on your to-do list each day, as you're going through your to-do list, before you start your next task, ask yourself one important question and think about it. Think about how you feel. Do you want to? Do you want to do this task? Ask yourself, why am I doing this task? What is my motivation? And just take a moment, take a breath and reflect. Why am I doing it? And you're not a victim. You have choices in your life. And what I'd like for you to do is think about asking yourself a question a few times. What will happen if I don't take action? If I don't take action, this task won't get done. What are the consequences of that? And then what will happen? And then what will happen? And then what will happen? And find within those questions your motivation for the action item that you're about to take on. So if I'm getting ready to exercise and I say, well, what happens if I don't do that? Well, I'll feel sluggish. Well, what happens if I feel sluggish? Well, then I'm going to feel even more like being unproductive, and it's a vicious spiral. So the reason I want to go exercise is to break that cycle. Now I have found my motivation. I have found my reason, and I have discovered that, in fact, I do want to go exercise. If I am doing a task for my boss, do I want to? Yes or no? Well, no. And if the answer is no, ask yourself, what is going to happen if I don't do this? What are the consequences? What will happen if I don't do this? Well, is it going to affect other people? Is it going to negatively affect your boss or you or people at your company? Is it going to negatively affect the business? Is it going to negatively affect your employees? Find your motivation, find your I want to before you embark on any task. What we're doing here is reframing the task into we're into something we're motivated to do. We are going to do this because we're motivated to do it and we want to do it. So when I'm going to set up a new survey for my boss that is going to be sent out to employees in our group. Well, if I don't do that, then we won't get input, then we won't be able to act on people's input and help our employees feel engaged and help our employees be part of building a strategy for making our company a better place to work. So I do want to develop this survey, and that's my motivation. So instead of just doing without reflecting, I encourage you to ask yourself before taking action, do I want to, and why? And at this point, I'm going to take a little break and see. I'm going to share with you. I'm going to go back. If you look in the chat box, and there is one link that says, let me see. It says It starts out being a bit.ly link and it says Burnout Cycle Worksheets. And what I'd like for you to do is download your Burnout Cycle worksheets. And here, I'll show them to you. I've got mine here. And once you download them from the link, and it is, let's see. Let me see. I hope you can see that. I've tried to bounce it up onto the screen. It's this one here that says Burnout Cycle Worksheets. If you click on that, it'll take you, and that link actually ends after worksheets. It'll take you right to the worksheets. You can download them. These are yours for free. And you can actually, these are text boxes, so you can actually click on them on your computer and just put your notes right in them. And these correspond with the steps in the presentation. You're going to first jot down notes from your burnout level quiz. And then next in step 2, you're going to list some ways that you can go inward, either through taking an hourly break or doing a meditation or scheduling some prayer time or some alone time, some solitude, maybe some time in nature, but you're going to put your plan there. So you've got your level of burnout and your inward focus plan. And then on the next page, you're going to reflect on motivations. And that's where you're asking yourself about your why. Why are you doing each task that you're doing? And before you're doing your task, find your motivation and write down your motivations here for some tasks you do regularly. Go ahead and write them down here so that you have them to look back on later in the future to remind yourself, I really am motivated about this. And I've got one more action item for you. I'm going to share my screen again. So this is easy. It's painless. It just takes a second. And it's really a mental exercise in getting clear on your motivations. I'll give you one more step. It's a bonus step. So, and this is going to double your confidence, energy, and sense of peace. It'll expand your joy and bring your positivity back if you can really make a habit of it. And again, it's something you can build into your day. It doesn't take extra time. I encourage you to do this when you are doing other things. And what I want you to do is to love yourself. Say nice things to yourself, be positive, give yourself hugs, look in the mirror and say, I love you, I love you, I love you. And tell yourself what it is that you appreciate about yourself or what you're happy about in terms of your talents, skills, abilities, what you're proud of, what you've accomplished, and share that love with yourself. Articulate it in your mind. Maybe even say it to yourself out loud or journal about it. When you look in the mirror, some of us get up in the morning and put on makeup or fix our hair or brush our teeth. I hope everybody brushes their teeth. And when you're looking in the mirror, just repeat, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. You can just say it in your head, but make eye contact with yourself. This is a beautiful exercise that was really started by Louise Hay, the author of Heal Your Life. And this is a great healing exercise. Anytime you look in the rear view mirror, anytime you're looking in a compact or putting on makeup or brushing your teeth, anytime you're washing your hands over in a sink that has a mirror over it, catch your eye and just say to yourself out loud or say in your mind, I love you, I love you, I love you. I want you to appreciate yourself and lift your spirits. This doesn't take any time. You can do it while you're already doing other things that you're normally going to do anyway. So you've got 3 steps and you've got a bonus step. You're going to take the quiz, then you're going to focus inward. You're going to start shifting that energy and that focus through the day on asking yourself if you want to, and what is your motivation for your action items. And you're going to love yourself all throughout the day. Remember, just say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And think about everything you've accomplished, all the people you're nice to, all the things that you do for other people, how you're giving, how you're supportive, and appreciate yourself and acknowledge very specific activities, behaviors, and attributes that you have that you really appreciate about yourself. Just FYI, I wanted to give you a little bit more of an expanded view of um, of what we're doing. I have a 5-step methodology that I use with my one-on-one coaching clients. It really is a 5-step methodology around using mindful methods to create joy and success in our lives. Because with confidence and self-empowerment comes our success and our joy. And it's a 5-step process where we really get in touch with our own feelings and emotions and physical awareness, just like we do when we're monitoring our self-talk, giving ourselves some self-love, um, getting some meditation time, scanning our body for tension or anxiousness. We re-engage eventually with our intuition, which is our personal guidance system. And in advanced work with my clients, we focus on creativity and self-expression, ultimately to identify our life purpose and to live out that life purpose. So if you're feeling burned out, I encourage you to maybe think of it a little bit as a gift. When we're burned out physically, mentally, emotionally, it means we need to pay attention to something. There's something coming up within us that is not going to be shut down. And burnout can affect our health, our relationships, as we saw before, our productivity. So it's very important that we pay attention to it and reflect on next steps and behaviors and skills that we can use to help diffuse that burnout. I want to share a quote with you from Lucy Pierce, who's an author and thought leader. I want you to think about that voice, that energy, that feeling that you have, and ask yourself, what is that? Who is she? And who she is she is your power. She's your feminine source, your big mama, the goddess, the great mystery, the web weaver, the life force. It's your feminine energy. It's your divine feminine energy. And the first time, the 20th time, you may not recognize it. You may not listen to it. You may pretend not to hear as she fills your bodies with both ripples of terror and delight. And I know what that feels like. And that does feel a lot like burnout, especially the terror part, right? But when you start to shift, then the delight comes in. But when she calls you, you will know you have been called. And this is a calling. Your burnout is a calling to make some changes, to make some shifts. And then it is up to you to decide if you will answer the call. And I encourage you today to take the 4 steps. Start with the quiz, go to the link, take the quiz, and then download your worksheets and start on your plan and implement your plan. Thank you so much for your participation today. I appreciate you. Here are what different ways that you can contact me. That is my email at the top. Feel free to take a screenshot of this, by the way, so that you have it even later today or tomorrow. I've got a website about my book, Feminine Emergence. You can always book with me for a discovery session if you're interested in learning more about breaking a burnout cycle. I can help you deeper if I understand more specifically about what's going on with you. And then my website, lishconsulting.com also. Um, Here are some links to me on social media. So I encourage you to follow me on social media and interact with me there. If you ask me a question, I'll answer it. I'll respond. And so if something occurs to you later, I'd love to hear from you. So I hope that you will follow me. I invite you to do that. And with that, I am open to any questions. And I believe, let's see, I'm going to stop sharing. The and perfect. The hi Hilda. Thank you very much. Yes, we all have our to-do lists, don't we? I appreciate that. And I live by a to-do list too. And I like a good to-do list. It's it keeps me focused and on track through the day. But when it gets to the point where you're not enjoying your life anymore, or you're really in that vicious cycle of burnout, then I encourage you to step back a little bit from the to-do list and think about top priorities and what's really important to you. I'm going to scan here, see if I have any other questions. I don't think so. If anybody else has any questions or anything they'd like to share, please drop it in the chat if you can. At the top, it might say comments, and if you click on that, you can add a comment to our chat. So, and if anyone would like to private chat me, that is available also. Oh, I see. It's just for me and other presenters. So I appreciate you being here today, Hilda. Do you have any other questions? And while you're I think there's a little bit of a delay. So while you're typing your questions in, I did want to share with you that next week I'm looking at doing a presentation and I am debating a little bit on which topic. So I was thinking about either doing, understanding burnout of your team. So, as a leader, if you have a team, I'd like to share with you some ways to understand and diffuse burnout for your team. And because that's a little bit more of a macro level and working with a whole team. Oh, good, Hilda. Yes, take the quiz. Thank you. And so um, I could talk about team burnout next week, or excuse me, I could talk about burnout among women. We're seeing that. Let me see if I can get this. Um, I'm gonna, um, I'm reading a lot about that in surveys, the um, the rate of burnout among professional women is 16 points more intense or more frequent than it is for men. So there's something going on. That's a big gap that is established and is widening over the last few months. And that was from that study that Deloitte published. And so I'm very curious and interested in understanding more about the why we have a gap where more women are experiencing burnout than men, and what we can do about it and how we can support each other. And if that's an interesting topic to you, let me know. You can drop it in the chat, either burnout among women or team burnout. What would you rather hear about next week? Team burnout or burnout among women? Just go ahead and let me know. And if you are not part of the live stream, you can always DM me on LinkedIn or send me an email. You have my email address, and let me know what you'd like to see next week. And so, with that, I want to say thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate you. I'd love to know how your burnout is going. Send me a message. Please take the quiz, and I look forward to seeing you at our next LinkedIn Live. Thank you.